Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everybody awake?
Yes.
All right. So today, wow. Okay, that threw me off. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Blessed Sabbath to everyone. First and foremost, I want to say Shalom to our brothers and sisters over in Sierra Leone. We know they had a blessed lesson today. We know that they'll be on probably a little bit later today, but bless you all, as well as the body that's growing and developing over in the Philippines. Shalom to you all as well. I am Bishop Taz. This is Brother Ashbel, who will be reading for me today. So everybody welcome him. Give him a round of applause real quick. All right. So today we're going to be going into a much anticipated, much requested lesson. We get a lot of questions about particularly the 12 tribes. Why is that? It's because when you come into the truth and you start learning the knowledge of the truth, the first things that you find out about is the dietary laws. You find out about the Sabbath, and you find out about who the 12 tribes are. And the 12 tribes is probably the most complicated and loaded question as it pertains to the knowledge of this truth, right? Everybody's the question, well, who's an Israelite? Who's not an Israelite? What do Israelites look like? Where are they from? What should their history look like? What determines who or who isn't an Israelite, right? Those are the main questions, and we've gotten those over the last couple of years, and it's actually a surprise up to this point that we haven't already done a lesson like this. So this will be a 13-part series. In this particular lesson, we're going to be breaking down, as in the title, the children of Israel, the 12 tribe chart, right? This is the children of Israel series, the 12 tribe chart. And in this series, we're not only going to be breaking down each tribe and where they're from, but the other tribes that we do not know that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, right? Now, why did I make the first part of this lesson the 12 tribes chart? Because there's a lot of discrepancy surrounding the 12 tribe chart, right? A large number of what you would call Black people, the Negro tribes of the children of Israel, the southern kingdom of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they deny the 12 tribes chart and often state that it's only Blacks who are Israelite. So it's strictly people who look like us that are Israelites. That's the main, the sort of the central idea around debunking the 12 tribes chart. How many of you have heard that before? Whereas, the 12 tribes are only Black people. We've all heard it, right? And at one point, we probably believed it, right? They state that the purpose, now this is where it starts getting murky, is when it's easy to state the fruit of something, right? When you're discussing something with someone, if somebody does something wrong, it's easy to state what the result of that wrong was. But the motives behind that wrong is something that we ourselves can't judge. Can we agree on that? Right? You can't judge the motive of a person because you don't know the heart or the motive of a person. Only the Most High knows that, right? We're supposed to judge people by their fruit, but the Most High judges them according to their heart, right? Now, oftentimes it's coupled with this, and this is me quoting usually people who deny the 12 tribe chart. The 12 tribes are only Black people. The only reason that they came up with the 12 tribes chart is to fulfill their lust with Gentile women. That's that. How many of us have heard that before? A number of people in here have heard that before, right? That's one of the primary reasons, or to deceive newcomers in the truth. Well, the 12 tribe chart is inaccurate. It's not biblical. It's something that they came up with to be able to marry and deal with all kinds of women like Solomon did, right? Now, as I stated before, the House of Judah International Fellowship Church cannot claim to know the reason behind why others use the 12 tribe chart. However, what we can say is that the reason for our using the 12 tribes chart is purely biblical, right? And in this series, we will not only prove the validity of the chart, but we will also reveal some of the lost tribes that are not included on the chart. Right. So today we're going to be breaking down each one of the myths concerning the 12 tribes chart, go into a little bit of depth concerning each one of these statements that are made about the 12 tribes chart that aren't true, and some of the statements that are made about the 12 tribes chart that is true. right? So before we get started, I want to give all thanks and praise to the Most High, Ba'Shem Yeshaya, Warawat, for continuing to bless this church, enlarge this church, and continuing to bless us with this knowledge. So without any further ado, Brother Osh, can you get Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 15?
Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it, for Judah and the children of Israel, his companions.
Read that from the beginning just a little bit louder.
The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it, for Judah and the children of Israel, his companions.
So keep in mind, Ezekiel chapter 37 is the chapter that talks about the valley of the dry bones. How many of us know about the valley of the dry bones? Right? The valley of the dry bones is when the Most High brought Israel and brought Ezekiel and showed him a vision of a valley of dry bones, and he raised them up into a nation which represented him reviving the children of Israel, right? A previously dead nation. So here in Ezekiel chapter 37, he's receiving another vision from the Most High. And the Most High commands him, he says, take one stick and write upon it the children, the tribe of Judah and his companions, right? Who is Judah and his companions according to the scripture? The southern kingdom, right? When the kingdom was split, it was divided into two nations. You had Ephraim and his companions, which are known as the lost tribes of Israel. And you had Judah and his companions, which is the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. These are considered to be the Negroid tribes of the children of Israel. Right? If you're using the technical version of what science would call our people, they would call them the Negroid tribes of Israel. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So he says, write Judah, Benjamin, and Levi on this one stick. Then he said to do what? Read.
Then take another stick and write upon it, for Joseph the stick of Ephraim, and for all house of Israel his companions.
Now keep in mind, Joseph had two sons. He was given a double portion. Right? So two of his sons were brought into the fold under the 12 tribes of Israel as if they were Jacob's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Now, out of Ephraim and Manasseh, we see in Ezekiel in Genesis chapter 48, Ephraim was given the inheritance. He was given the birthright. Therefore, Ephraim is the head or the representative of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. So just as when you hear Judah represents 3 tribes. When you hear Ephraim represents all 10. That makes sense? So he's saying, on this one stick, write Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And on this other stick over here, I want you to write Ephraim and all of his companions. That's Asher, Gad, Naphtali, Dan, all of these other tribes over here. Right? Read.
And join them one on one. Okay. Ezekiel 37, verse 17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand.
And they shall become one in thine hand. So he's saying you have these 2 sticks in each hand, one that has Judah and his companions, one that has Ephraim and his companions. And I want you to bring them together into one hand, right? And he's doing this in front of the children of Israel as something symbolic, right? Read it, verse 18.
And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not shew us what thou meanest by these?
So the children of Israel, who he's showing this symbolic, what the Most High is telling him to do, this symbolic thing that he's doing in front of, they're saying, what is this? What does this mean? You got Judah and his companions, Joseph and his companions here, putting them, you got 2 sticks in your hand. What are you doing, Ezekiel? What is he to tell him that he's doing? Read.
Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be in mine hand.
And they shall be one in mine hand. So now he explains what it is that the Most High told him, right? As we see in Ezekiel chapter 37, Ezekiel is receiving the knowledge or the edification concerning the valley of the dry bones. And he's commanded to write on 2 sticks, one of them Judah and his companions, and the other Ephraim and his companions. And he's supposed to take them and put them in one hand as if they are one stick. Now, the Most High split the nation of Israel into the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom under King Solomon because of King Solomon's sin, right? Now, due to their division, they saw and continue to see each other throughout history as 2 separate nations, right? When you take a country and you divide it in two as time passes and as years pass, you forget that these were once two separate. They start to forget that they were once one country. For example, North and South Korea. North and South Korea was originally just Korea, but we don't remember a time when it was just Korea. Now they see each other as two separate countries, North and South Korea, as opposed to just Korea. It's the same thing that happened here with Israel. At one point, you had just the kingdom of Israel, but due to Solomon's sin, 10 tribes were stripped out of Solomon's possession, right? Now you have a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom, and over many years, they don't even have relation to one another, outside of when they traveled to the capital for the feast days, which eventually stopped under Jeroboam, right? Remember, Jeroboam didn't want them going back to the nation of Israel, going back to the capital, because if they went back to the capital to keep the feast day, they would have seen how wicked Jeroboam was and came back and killed them. So Jeroboam said, let me build 2 golden calves and say, hey, you can come and worship here. You don't have to go to Jerusalem. So eventually the northern kingdom fell into the wickedness that they found at Mount Sinai in the wilderness. Right? The same golden calf, the same Yahweh that we fell to in the wilderness is the same Yahweh that he built in the northern kingdom of Israel to keep them from going back and actually being reminded of what a righteous king looks like. Right? So this is where the divide between the two nations really began. Because think about it. When you have two nations who think that they're separate, right? But they have to come together multiple times, 3 times in a year to see each other. There's still acclamation there. There's still an understanding that we are the same, right? According to the cultures and the laws that we're keeping. But eventually, once that stops and there's a segregation between the two where the two aren't seeing each other, it's been decades since they've come together for these same feast days. They keep different traditions. They have different gods. Now they begin to see each other as separate people. And it began all the way back in the time of Jeroboam and Rehoboam, the king of Israel. Right? So the Most High is now commanding Ezekiel to unite the sticks, which symbolizes bringing Ephraim and Judah back together. Right? These 2 sticks who are perceived, who are looked at to be 2 completely separate sticks are actually one stick. Right? What we're witnessing here in Ezekiel chapter 37 is the original creation of a 12-tribe chart. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 20. Let's get it.
And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. Mm-hmm. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Now think about this, because keep in mind, in the time of Ezekiel, the children of Israel are already gone. The northern kingdom's already been taken by Hoshea the king. They've already been conquered. They've already been dispersed. So when Ezekiel is speaking to the children of Israel here, when he's speaking to mainly the 3 tribes that are involved in Judah in the southern kingdom, they're saying, what does this mean? Because I'm not familiar with I understand the tribes, but I don't see where they're at. So now they have to be reminded as to who it is that the other tribe, as to what the Most High is going to do with these other tribes. So he says, I'll take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and I will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Now, we're going to get back to that particular scripture because that scripture says a lot concerning the 12-tribe chart deniers. It breaks down a lot of their issues that they have with the chart are actually corrected in this one verse, in verse 21. But we're going to keep going into verse 22. Read. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. Mm-hmm. And one king shall be king to them all. Who is that king? That king is Christ, right? He's going to be the one to unite all of the children of Israel and bring them back into the land. Right? So he says, and one king shall be king to them all. Read. And they shall be no more two nations.
They shall be no more two nations. They won't be talked about as the nation, as the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. They won't be talked about as the nation of Israel and Judah. Right? They're going to be, now they're one nation, the nation of Israel, and that's just it. Under one king and one land with one God. Read.
Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all.
Anymore at all. Read.
Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all the dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and I will cleanse them.
And I will cleanse them. See, another thing that's often said when we're doing research on the 12 tribes chart on the positive and the negative aspect of it is, well, look at what they're doing. They tattoo themselves. That's not biblical. They sacrifice to other gods. That's not biblical. They're eating pig. That's not biblical. Well, last time I checked, I see a lot of the children of Judah with tattoos. We go into West Africa, you see them eating pork. You even see cannibalistic cultures in West Africa as well. So does that apply to them? See, when we bring the law and we bring correction, there comes cleansing. Right? How can someone become clean when they're unclean unless you tell them what clean looks like? See, and what we're going to find here is there's a lot of double standards as it pertains to our people versus the nation of Israel. This is why the scriptures talk about the enmity between the children of Israel and between the children of Israel and the children of Judah. Right? This is why this is the divide that we see between the two. Ephraim shall not vex Judah, right? There's an issue between the two. And we don't fully and part of the enmity between the two comes with colorism is one of them. That's the main aspect of it. Well, they don't look like me. Even though we know for a fact that the brothers and sisters in West Africa are the same as us, but we don't look like them. Right? So there's an issue between the children of Israel and the children of Judah. But however, it's not our responsibility to attempt to look at someone and tell them whether or not they're a Jew. Right? Go ahead and finish up that scripture.
So shall they be my people, and I will be their God.
And I will be their God. So the Most High is what he's showing here. He's saying, listen, I'm going to take all of these people from among the heathen that you think are Gentiles. You're looking, the children of Judah were looking at these people eating pork, getting tattoos, having gauges in their ears. They look like Gentiles. So all these people that we'll look at a child of Ephraim who we thought was a Gentile and say, oh, that's a Gentile. Those same people he's going to be gathering. He's saying, I'm going to cleanse them. And guess what? They're going to be my people and I'm going to be their God. Verse 24.
And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them.
Exactly. See, one thing that's often forgotten is that there's a ministry to the Gentiles as well. So even if they weren't children of Israel, is our mission not to teach them? Right? Say they were Gentiles. Does that mean because they're Gentiles we aren't to teach them? See, when we examine, and we're going to go in depth, not only into the scriptures, but into secular history as well. And this is often another thing that frustrates me is we think that we have a monopolization on suffering. See, not all suffering is the same suffering, right? See, when blacks, we get caught up in the monopolization. We have a monopolization on captivity. We have a monopolization on suffering, on pain. When we don't realize that the transatlantic slave trade was a perfected practice. It was something that needed to be perfected over time. There's a reason why the transatlantic slave trade ran as smoothly as it did. It needed trials. The Trans-Pacific slave trade from the 1500s to the 1700s, sending brothers and sisters from India to Mexico, from the Philippines to Mexico. Israelites. These are from places that we would think, East Africa, Portuguese India, Bangladesh, all of these areas being put on slave ships and sent to work hard labor in America. And we thought we were the first ones. How do you think black people got to Venice? The Moors in Venice, the slaves, the black slaves in Venice. How do you think they got there? Slave trades from Mauritania at the time. How do you think blacks got to Brazil? How about the tribes of Levi to Haiti? The Levites were taken from West Africa before the tribes of Judah and Benjamin were. Hence why they were on the island of Hispaniola prior to the slavery here in America. See, there's a lot of aspects concerning captivity, but we believe that we have a monopolization on it. See, lynching, we believe that that's a practice that was practiced against blacks. That began in Brazil. They were lynching Brazilians before they were lynching blacks. How many of y'all know that they're still lynching Brazilians? The Australian Aborigines. How many of y'all know that they were being hunted like animals and eliminated until the 1990s? But we have a monopolization on captivity. Now, that's not me saying that Judah isn't the brunt, doesn't take the brunt of the hits from the Gentiles, because we do. That's why the Most High said that he would save the tents of Judah first. He said he would save the tents of Judah first, that he will wake the children of Judah up first, because we were being attacked first. The knowledge of the truth begins from the head down. It's what you see, it's what you hear. So since the children of Judah wake up first, before they start waking up the other parts of the body, think about it. The nervous system begins at the brain, right? So, and it's those signals from the brain to the other parts of the body, and those signals are sent back. Think of Judah as the head and the nervous system as the children of Israel. Before the signals can get to the fingers and the nerves and the fingers get back to the brain, you have to stop it somehow. And that's what the Gentiles are trying to do. They're attacking the brain first. They're attacking the children of Judah first, so that the nervous system can't reach the other points of the body. Think of it that way. It's by the brain, it's by Judah that the rest of the body wakes up. So yes, we are taking the brunt of the attack, but the idea that we have a monopolization on captivity is wrong. In the same token, it's also a misconception that the slave trades only happened later in history. How many of you know that Deuteronomy 28 says, if you break my laws, you will go into captivity? Did that have a timetable, or did it just say, if you break my laws, you'll go in captivity? So the second we began to break the laws, that's the time when we began to go into captivity. Hence why when Gentiles try to rebut and say, well, we got people going on slave ships before the transatlantic slave trade. Well, duh. That was the prophecy. The prophecy was slave ships if we sinned. So that means from that point where you sin, any point during that time, slave ships happened. Oh, but y'all think it was 1619. There was slave ships way, 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 way before 1619, 1620, people. And we're going to get it over these next couple of weeks. Many who try to debunk the 12 tribes chart often claim that all the tribes of Israel are not scattered. They say, oh, the southern kingdom was the only one who was scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Prove it. One thing that I didn't notice when reading Deuteronomy 28 is that it prophesied that only Judah would be scattered. Last time I checked, it says, speak unto the children of Israel, not unto the children of Judah. Their claim is that the 12 tribes, that the rest of the lost tribes are still in Africa. Now, true. Some of the 10 tribes are still scattered in Africa, right? True. But not only Africa. The Most High's prophecy to Ezekiel says otherwise. Let's get verse 21 in Ezekiel. Go back up to verse 21 in Ezekiel. I said that we will come back here. Go ahead and read verse 21 for me.
And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from the heathen.
From among the heathen, right? The heathen are everywhere, right? Read.
Whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side.
What side?
Every side.
What side?
Every side.
What side?
Every side.
Read.
And bring them into their own land.
And bring them into their own land. So first of all of you people that are saying Africa is the homeland, get rid of it. Because if they're already in Africa, they're already in the homeland. So get rid of it. Contradiction number one eliminated. Number two, it says, I will gather the children of Israel on every side. They say, oh, just the east of the river. They're just east of the river, which means that they're only in Africa. This says on every side. Last time I checked, there are 4 sides: north, south, east, and west. Every side. So he would have to gather the lost children of Israel from every side. This is why Christ's ministry spread so far out. Keep in mind what Christ's mission was. Christ said, I am not sent but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He was sent to the 12 tribes that weren't already present in the land, the ones that were dispersed. Why do you think that the first thing that they did after Christ died was send a ministry overseas? Why would Paul set up a ministry in Asia? Why would St. Thomas have a church in India and Bangladesh? Oh, do you have the picture queued up? They had a church. St. Thomas had a stamp in history of when he was in India. Not only was he in India, but he died and was buried in India. Why, if the children of Israel, if the lost tribes of Israel, there were no church, no people in Israel, why was he there? In India, why was he there? Wow. And if you guys can't clearly see, that's a black man. Yep. It's quite clearly a black man. You can Google that. You can type into Google Thomas the Apostle, and you'll find this picture right there, the stamp right there. Wow. Why was he in India? And you want to know what's interesting? Is the Trans-Pacific slave trade was taking the people from India from Portuguese India, right? Portuguese India in specific, right? One moment here. They were taking people from Portuguese India. That includes the Cochin Jews of India, the Gojan Vela, and the Panaji in Bangladesh. Guess where St. Thomas was? Portuguese India. So he wasn't just in a random place in India. No, he wasn't just traveling throughout the whole country. He was in Portuguese India. And it just so happens that that same place throughout Bangladesh in these particular areas in Portuguese India, it just so happened that a slave trade would happen there a couple hundred years later.
Come on.
Coincidence, though. Just so happens. And these same people were being shipped to the Americas for slave labor, being labeled as Negroes.
Come on.
This Ezekiel makes it clear. The Most High makes it clear in the book of Ezekiel that he will be gathering the children of Israel on every side. But we need precepts. Let's get James chapter 1, verse 1.
James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting.
How many tribes scattered abroad?
12 tribes.
How many?
12 tribes.
How many?
12 tribes.
12 tribes scattered abroad. Not 3, not 2, not 1. 12. 12 tribes scattered abroad. Servant of God and of Yeshua Christ to the 12 tribes to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. The mission of the apostles was to the 12 tribes. The mission of Paul was to the Gentile. So let me ask you again. If Christ sent the apostles to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, why was Thomas in Portuguese India? Because the children of Israel were there. Why is it that there are brothers and sisters in the South Pacific that have claimed to see the prophets themselves on their islands? Why is it that all of the, now keep in mind the distance between the South Pacific, the East, and the West. How is it that the Native Americans in North America and South America were able to travel back and forth to specific islands in the South Pacific? And they all knew exactly where each other were.
Come on. Wow.
We're going to get into that later too. James confirms that the 12 tribes of Israel have been scattered even before 70 AD. This disproves the myth that the children of Israel are the only tribe of Israel that is scattered is Judah.
Come on.
Not only will we be gathered, but we will also be united under one king. The chart was created by the Most High as a reminder of who we are and what he will do for us when the end draws near. It's a promise. When you look at the 12 tribes of Israel, it's a promise. It's like, okay, these are the children of Israel. Because keep in mind, the scriptures say that the children of Israel are not consumed. As long as the moon exists, as long as the sun exists, the children of Israel are not consumed. The 12 tribe chart is a sign that these are my people. These were my people. These still are my people. And this is what I will do for my people. And that's why we get this feeling when you're around another tribe, and not only when you're around that tribe, but when they have the knowledge of who they are, there's a connection.
Come on.
There's like a spiritual connection. It's like, dang, that's a brother right there. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily look like you. They don't talk like you. They don't have the same culture as you, but there's a connection there. Like a spiritual tethering. Right? Now, just another precept concerning the 12 tribes being scattered everywhere. Let's get Isaiah chapter 49, verse 12.
Behold, these shall come from far and low, these from north and from the west.
Now, check that out. Isaiah says the same thing that Ezekiel is saying. They shall come from far and low. This means that they're far away and some of them are really close. These from the north and from the west. So they're from every direction. Read.
And these from the land of Sinim.
And these from the land of Sinim. Read.
Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains, for the Lord hath comforted his people.
His people, read.
and will have mercy upon his afflicted.
And will have mercy upon his afflicted. Now, the land of Sinim, that's the focus of this particular scripture, verses 12 and 13. The land of Sinim, when you look in the Hebrew, translates to southern China or Southeast Asia. Where are the black people in southern China? Anybody? Where are the black people in Southeast Asia? I'm waiting. There probably were black people in southern China and Southeast Asia, but there aren't any more. There's something called assimilation, ethnic cleansing is the more modern and politically correct way to say it, right? Isaiah is even showing here that there are those of our people that the Most High is going to be gathering out of Southeast Asia, even parts of southern China, which we will expound on this in the coming weeks. Right? Southeast Asia consists of the Cambodians, the Spice Islands of Indonesia, Vietnam, Brunei, Malaysia, some areas in southern Thailand, some areas in the Philippines, all of which were involved in, guess what? The Trans-Pacific slave trade. They were taking on slave ships. The Kaifeng Jews of China. The elder and I were just talking about the Kaifeng Jews in southern China, and how the history behind them is that they had been present in China for over 1,000 years, and even the Jews knew this. Now, keep in mind, there's a Jewish guy talking about this. He was saying, you know, they were there, they were accepted there. There wasn't much resistance. There was no anti-Semitism there. So over this, after getting there 1,000 years prior, they began to assimilate, intermarry, right? And now they look more Chinese, but they're still Jews. They look Chinese, they speak Chinese, but they're Jews. And their history, as well as the history of the people surrounding them, is that they're not Chinese, that they come from somewhere else. It's quite, the scriptures are quite clear as to where the children of Israel are. And one of the things that people often do to try to dismiss the extent of which our people are scattered is they say, well, there's a small amount of our people there. There's a small amount of our people scattered here and there, just little amounts. Amounts to like 1.3% of the population in this place or that place. Didn't Hosea say that we're numbered as the sands of the sea, which cannot be numbered? Last time I checked, according to the scriptures, the children of Israel are some of the most fertile. We are the most fertile people on the planet. And you gave us about a solid 4,000 years to populate. This is why Hosea is saying the children of Israel are as the sands of the sea, which cannot be numbered. So anyone talking about small amounts of our people anywhere are sadly mistaken. See, it's an illusion that Esau would like to create, right? Because keep in mind, Obadiah says that Obadiah is speaking for the Most High, and the Most High says, I will make your numbers small among the heathen. And even Benjamin Franklin, in his letters talking about the American dream as it pertains to the Negroes and the minorities of America, says that the white population is very small. And they give us the idea that our population is very small by calling us what? Minorities. It's like a person with a little man's complex that's wearing 10-inch shoes with some stilts on top of them. It's like, well, let's just spread out really far so that it looks like our population is bigger than it actually is. Switzerland is a good example. When you think Switzerland, you think what? White people. How many of y'all know the majority of the population in Switzerland is black?
Come on.
Friend of mine lived in Germany. How many of y'all know that a pretty big population, that a vast majority of the population in Germany is black? How many of y'all know in the UK, majority of the population there is also black? They're just packed in the small little suburbs. Y'all didn't know that, did you? You think of these countries and you New Zealand, what do you think? You think white, right? Majority of the vast majority of the population there is Polynesian, Micronesian, or Melanesian. See, it's the illusion, creating the illusion that a country is something that it isn't. They make their numbers seem larger than they actually are. And you do that by tinkering with population sizes. Well, if we can pack all the minorities into one place and spread ourselves out in all the empty spaces, it looks as though the population is only white.
Yeah.
Even though if we allowed for black people to live in this, blacks or minorities to live in the same areas as whites, you would only see us. It's a Jedi mind trick.
Tell the truth.
So to think, oh, there's only a small population of black people in this, of Israelites here, or a small population of Israelites there. You remember the last time we had a small population somewhere? It's called Egypt. When we went in with 70 people and we came out with how many? So if you think that we go in a small population and we're going to stay that way, you're grossly mistaken. It don't work like that with our people. We don't work with small numbers.
Come on.
So some would ask, well, the natives found in the Western Hemisphere, if they're descended from one of the northern tribes, why do they not look more like us from the Southern Kingdom? Why aren't they black? Or at least light-skinned? This question primarily stems from Israelites who teach that from Israelites who teach that they're black and only black. And this usually comes from where you see, oh, Adam was black, such and such is black, this is black, this is black, this is black, Jacob was black. And then you say, well, Jacob was black, then all his sons were black. And if all of his sons were black, that means that all their children were black. So you say, well, they were only black. This is not only historically inaccurate, but biblically inaccurate. See, Adam and Eve were black. Thus, all the children that were born from them were black. Hamites and Israelites bear a striking resemblance. Do they not? So if we're only going by color, we might be making a few mistakes. See, I'm sorry, but if you go to India, you'll find some people who are blacker than us, but they're Hamites. Are they Israelites too because they're black? That's not how it works. See, Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. Paul was a Benjamite, mistaken for an Egyptian. Moses was a Levite, mistaken for an Egyptian. Right? Joseph, who was the son of Jacob, married an Egyptian woman. Therefore, both of his children are half Egyptian.
Come on.
So if you want to talk about the mixing, it really started there. With Joseph marrying an Egyptian woman, from whom Ephraim and Manasseh come from. Hence why their prophecy in Genesis chapter 48 was that they would become a multitude of nations, a multitude of people, different races. They were already mixed. Their hair texture was already different. When you look at the hair texture of a Hamite versus the hair texture of a Negro, even when you go into this book here, I have this book here called A Treatise on Physical Geography. This book contains information, the earliest information that goes all the way back to not only the animals that were originally present, the lands, how they're originally constructed, what plants were there, and also the people. It says that our hair is specific to the Negro race. Woolly hair is specific to the Negro race. Hamites or Africans don't have hair like us. Their hair is straight. It's thick, but it's straight.
Wow.
Woolly hair was specific to the Negroid or Jewish race. Says it in here. I'm going to get it later. It makes it very clear. So when you take into account that the thick hair, the woolly hair was specific to the Negroid race, which was Joseph, and he mixed with a Hamite woman whose hair was thick but straight, what do you think Ephraim and Manasseh's hair looked like? Oh, well, they don't have the same hair as us. They don't have the same skin as us. See, it was all beginning to mix at that point, right? The reason for these examples is to show that there's a lot of ambiguity surrounding the phrase black in the Bible, because at one point, everyone was black. Don't buy into the myth that Noah had a white son, a black son, and an Asian son. That didn't happen. He had 3 black children. All 3 were very black. Genghis Khan, from the tribe of Japheth. He looks black. His skin is dark. But he's clearly from the tribe of Japheth. From the nation of Japheth. Salakia. So there's a lot of ambiguity surrounding black in the Bible because there's so much black there. Right? While the Israelites all point to where where we were black in the time of Exodus, right? While the Israelites at one point were all black, exiting Egypt in the time of the Exodus until the northern kingdom's captivity under the Assyrian king of Salmanassar in 721 BC. Right? So the northern kingdom was black up until the point of their captivity, from the Exodus all the way up to their captivity in 721 BC under Salmanassar in 721 BC, right? Salmanassar was the Assyrian king. Why is that important? Because the Assyrians at one time, at that point, were one of the most powerful nations on earth at that time. And in their captivities of not only the children of Israel, but of other nations as well, they practiced slavery, genocide, and ethnic cleansing. For those of us who know what white supremacy is, it's sort of like that. It's racial superiority. Ethnic cleansing was being practiced by the Assyrians in the time when the northern kingdom went into captivity. So after years of ethnic cleansing under the Assyrians, right, which the children of Israel endured, and we'll examine this with each of the tribes, specifically to each of the tribes, it would cause for the change for a change in appearance from the children of Israel over time. Just keep in mind, when you look at the Assyrians have the narrow noses. They have a lighter skin tone because of their mixing with the Edomites. They have the thinner noses, lesser hips, lips aren't as thick, narrower skulls. They look different, right? If you look up ancient paintings, if you look at the Assyrians, they look different than what the Negro looks like. Now, if you continue to mix over and over, what begins to happen to that originally black lineage? Starts to change in appearance, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing goes for black people. When we were in slavery, whites had what? Bed wenches. These women would get pregnant with their children, and what would the child come out looking like? And they would wind up being what? A house slave. And then what would happen to that house slave? They were raped and molested. Guess what their kids came out looking like? And then the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats until what happens? You got a child that passes for white. And that's with Judah. So let's not pretend that this is only that this is a far-fetched idea, because we endured it. And that's where the double standard comes in. Is we'll say, well, even if they did mix, they're still not Israelites. But we're quick to accept a brother or sister of one of ours who's mixed. Someone who's mixed with Judah and white. We're quick to accept them. Well, they look white, but they're not actually white. Is our excuse for them. Well, they look white, but they're not actually white. His grandfather was black. But when it comes to our brothers and sisters who are scattered, oh no, that's not an Israelite. No, he looks white. He looks Arab. He looks Indian. He or she looks Indian. He or she looks Asian. Oh, but when we talk about that brother behind you, oh no, he from the tribe of Judah. He just looked white. That is the divide that Christ is coming to get rid of. That's the divide that Christ is coming to get rid of. After years of ethnic cleansing from another nation and various captivities that each tribe may have endured, because keep in mind, some tribes were in captivity longer than others. For example, there were some of the nations that left after the Assyrian captivity, and there were some that stayed and continued to assimilate. And they wound up looking like Arabs. For example, the Pashtun in Afghanistan, they're descended from one of the tribes of Israel. But they not only do they not look like us, but they also don't look like the Arabs that are present there either. When you look at the Pashtun, they don't look like the other Afghans. They don't look like the other nations that surround them, but they don't look like us either. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. It would cause these tribes, because keep in mind, when Christopher Columbus discovered these nations, a lot of them were already fair colored. He didn't find all of these nations dark skinned. We're going to get into that too. Some of these nations he found of fair complexion. Why? Because of the captivity that happened in Assyria. This is confirmed through biblical history. Let's get Hosea chapter 7, verse 8.
Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim.
Now remember what we went over. We said that when we went over Ephraim and his companions, Ephraim represents the 10 tribes, the children of Israel, right? The house of Israel is who Ephraim represents. So this is talking about the house of Israel, read.
Ephraim is a cake not turned. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not yet. Not. Yeah, gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knoweth not.
Think about it. Ephraim hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. See, we didn't have onions. I said onions. We didn't have ovens back then like we do now. Back then, you had a stone oven that usually only heated from the bottom, right? So you would have to turn the cake instead of just letting it heat. It wasn't like when you have our ovens now, the heat circulates over the top. So usually it gets baked on the top and it gets baked on the bottom. But even still, the bottom of the cake, because the heat is directly from the bottom, is darker than the top. Right? So when it says Ephraim is a cake not turned, It's saying that there are some light ones and some dark ones. Ephraim is a cake not turned. You have some that are kind of light, and you have some that are really dark. See, if you didn't turn a cake back then, what would happen? The bottom is black and the top is light. It's done. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Why? Because he had mixed himself among the people, among the nations. That word people translates to nations. Now, y'all remember what Ezekiel said about the nation, about the tribes of Israel in Ezekiel 37? What did he say? He said that they were scattered amongst the who? The heathen. So these same heathen that they were scattered amongst, they mixed with. It says, strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. What does that mean? Whether people like to hear it or not, Israel is blessed with a natural strength of body and of mind that other nations aren't blessed with. Faster, stronger, smarter, right? We're built that way. Now, when we mix with other nations who aren't as physically strong, that's not even an insinuation. Remember, one people shall be stronger than the other people. That was prophesied from Jacob and Esau. So don't think that this is an insinuation. That's scripture. The scriptures prophesied that Jacob would be stronger than Esau. One nation shall be stronger than the other people. Right? So Jacob's children, the children of Israel, are naturally stronger than the other nations. And when we mix ourselves with those other nations, what happens to our strength? It goes away. It's devoured. Think of it like you got Kool-Aid with a lot of sugar in it. Like it's super sweet Kool-Aid, but you keep adding water to it. And eventually it gets less sweet. And then the more water you have, it's almost not sweet at all anymore. And then eventually it starts to lose color altogether because you've added so much water to it. That's exactly what Hosea is saying here about the 10 tribes. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. It was done on purpose. Oh, make it desirable for a black man to want a white woman instead of a black woman. The last thing we want is chocolate babies running around here that are looking for freedom. That's when we got Nat Turners back then. So you know what? Let's make it desirable for a black man to want a white woman. Let's make it desirable for a Hispanic to want a white woman, for a black man to want a Chinese woman, or to want an Arab woman. Let's make that desirable. And let's make in media black women look bad. Let's make dark skin ugly. Let's make afros dirty. Let's make infomercials about how just hard it is to deal with black hair. And you know what? Let's only promote the black women that are light-skinned with straight hair. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Sisters that are of fair skin, that's just our people. Our people come in a multitude of colors for a lot of different reasons. There's nothing wrong with that. But the point of the matter is that they are trying to drain the strength from the children of Israel. It's not necessarily saying that light-skinned is bad, but it's saying the lighter, the better. Light-skinned is good, but white is better. Strangers have devoured his strength, yet he knoweth it not. You don't even realize that you're thinking this way. I was dealing with a brother a couple of years ago, and he was like, you know, I just think that light-skinned girls and white girls are prettier. I said, why? And I started showing him pictures. I'm like, you think that's beautiful? Like, yeah. I said, what about this? I'm like, that's all you see, right? What do you watch? Say, yeah. He was like, I was like, you watch BET? Yeah. Like, you watch Tyler Perry, right? Yeah. What always happens in BET and Tyler Perry? Either the dark-skinned woman or the dark-skinned man bad. Then light-skinned man or light-skinned woman comes in and saves the day. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. Like I said, it's not that light-skinned is bad. Our people come in a multitude of colors for a multitude of different reasons. But the message isn't light-skinned. The message is the lighter, the better. The less black, the better. Let's get verse 10.
And the pride of Israel testifieth to his face,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek for him all of this.
Now, this part, verse 10 coincides majority with the second part of verse 9. It says, yea, gray hairs, and here are here, and they are upon him, yet he knoweth it not. What does gray hair represents in the scriptures? Wisdom. So wisdom is upon this nation, but he knows it not. So not only does he not know that they're devouring his strength, he doesn't even know he has it. He doesn't even know that the book this Bible that they're bringing you, along with Roman Catholicism, you have more wisdom in that book than he does. You don't know it. Wisdom is upon you, but you know it not. You have no idea. Read. And it says, and the pride of Israel testifieth to his face, and they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all his righteousness. The pride of Israel testifieth to his face. Everything is telling you. Everyone is telling you your mannerisms, your customs, the way that you're built, the way that you think, everything is crying out and telling you, listen, this is who you are, and come back to God, yet you don't. Because strangers have devoured your strength, and you don't know about the wisdom that you possess. Right? And part of that comes with the confusion of being mixed anyways. People don't realize that, first of all, there's really no such thing as a mixed people, because you are who your father is. But there's a conflict, right? Because if your dad is black, but your mother who is raising you is white, you have an identity conflict. There's an issue of identity. Am I white or am I black? There's a confusion. So now there's a battle within yourself to figure out who you are and why you are that way. It adds a whole nother level of psychology and confusion to the mix. The strangers have devoured your strength, and the gray hairs are upon you, yet he knoweth it not. It adds a whole nother layer of confusion. Right? Let's get verse 11.
Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart.
Mm-hmm.
They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria.
They call to Egypt and they go to Assyria. They're a silly dove without heart. Not only are they sinning, but they're okay with their captivity. It's like, keep in mind, Egypt in the scriptures is referring to slavery, bondage. They call to bondage and they go to Assyria. This is what this is talking about in Hosea. This is what they experienced while they were in the captivity in Assyria. So not only is the Bible telling you about what happened to them and why they look the way that they do, but it's also telling you where it happened. That's why I made it clear when I said that it's historically and biblically inaccurate to say that it's not possible that they were mixed in this time. Because the scriptures are literally telling you that's what happened in Assyria. Strangers devoured their strength while they were in Assyria. And they were mixed in Assyria. Let's get Hosea chapter 8, verse 5.
Thy calf, O Samaria, hath cast thee off. Mine anger is kindled against them. How long will it be ere they attain to innocency?
Check it out. This is going all the way back. Hosea is reaching all the way back to Jeroboam. He's reaching all the way back to Jeroboam. Thy calf, O Samaria, right? Thy calf, and keep in mind what Samaria is. Samaria is the northern kingdom, right? They were possessed by the Assyrians, and now that area was called Samaria, right? My anger is kindled against them, right? Thy calf, O Samaria, hath cast thee off. This God that you went to serve, that Jeroboam gave you to serve, has now cast you off. What does that mean? This God that you were serving over me has now destroyed you. Right? So he's reaching all the way back to Jeroboam. This is back to when the sin started and what caused their captivity in Assyria. Read verse 6.
For from Israel was it also. The workman made it. Therefore it is not God.
Check it out. It says, for Israel was it also. For from Israel was it also. It was created by us. It wasn't even taken from somewhere else. It was created by us, for us, but it's not even we created a workman made it. It's not even a God. We're serving a thing, an item. Read.
But the calf of Samaria shall be broken into pieces.
The calf of Samaria shall be broken into pieces. Read.
For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
They have no stalk,
Mm-hmm.
the bud shall yield no meat.
Mm-hmm.
If so be in yield, the stranger shall swallow it
Mm-hmm.
up.
The stranger shall swallow it up. Deuteronomy 28. Doesn't that sound a lot like Deuteronomy 28? Whatever you plant, you get nothing back. Whatever animals you raise, you won't get to eat the meat. No yields. Whatever you do get, you won't get anything from the land, but whatever you do get, it's not even going to be for you. Someone else is going to eat it. Remember what I said. The second we began to sin, Deuteronomy 28 came into effect. So Deuteronomy 28, all of these curses of Deuteronomy 28 were happening in the northern kingdom. That's why when we read it, that sounds a lot like Deuteronomy. That sounds a lot like slavery in America. Because it is. It's all the same captivity. It's all the same curses. The second we began to break the law, statutes, and commandments, these curses went into effect. Thus, this is why the northern kingdom is experiencing the same exact curses in Assyria. Not in America, in Assyria. Read.
Israel is swallowed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
They're being used like a glass that you fill with water. It says they shall be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein there is no pleasure. That's Deuteronomy 28. Read.
For they are gone up to Assyria, a wild ass home alone by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim hath hired lovers.
Ephraim have hired lovers. It's literally explaining. This is explaining in biblical history what happened, where the northern tribes experienced while in the Assyrian captivity. See, we just thought it was a captivity that happened. It came and went, and they just decided to leave. They experienced horrible tragedies throughout the northern kingdom of Assyria. The northern kingdom under Jeroboam returned to the calf, the tetragrammaton or Yahweh worship that extended all the way back to Aaron in the wilderness. Because of this, they would go into the Assyrian captivity and would experience the same curses that are the same curses from Deuteronomy 28. the northern kingdoms, the northern tribes in that captivity would be mixed with the nations. And after this captivity, they would be a cake not turned. Is that history? Y'all understand that? Y'all following?
Mhm.
This is the reason the scriptures tell us not to strive in endless genealogies. Y'all know the script? Did y'all know the scripture said that? 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 4.
Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which ministers questions, rather than godly edifying, which is in faith. So do.
It says, neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister more questions rather than godly edifying, which is in the faith. See, the Most High gave us the tools to figure out who the children of Israel are, right? He gave us Genesis 49, he gave us Deuteronomy 23, and he gave us Deuteronomy 28, Deuteronomy 33, and Deuteronomy 28. These are the curses and the last day prophecies that identify the children of Israel. Now, it gets more intricate than that, but this is all we can teach. We can only teach what the Most High gave us, right? But if we go on and looking at each person and saying, well, this is what your daddy was, your granddad, your auntie, cousins, 35s, and he's 47, but he from here, and not the other person. They just asked you what tribe do you think they from, and now they confused. It's like, so Filipino? Now they're confused. It ministers more questions than answers. Now, if I can look at a person and say, hey, this is where you're from, you have a clean gene, bang, right there. Majority of your family is this, bam, that's what you are. Right? But even still, we might not still be right. There's some of us in this room thinking we Judah, and we probably not. There's a lot of us in America that think that we're Judah, but forget Simeon was scattered amongst all of amongst all of Judah. So you could be among Judah, thinking that you're Judah, but actually from the tribe of Simeon, which should tell you how the way we look has affected the way that we see Israel. Because we know the tribe of Simeon is on the island of Hispaniola, but they don't look like the Simeonites that are among Judah, because the Simeonites that are among Judah look like Judah. So you had some of the tribe of Simeon that was in Assyria being ethnically cleansed, and then they went to the island of Hispaniola from Second Esdras, and then they were taken into captivity by who? The Spaniards. And even the French were mixed in there for a little bit of time in the Dominican Republic, right? So now they have a different look. So you're saying, okay, we have the tribe of Israel, the tribe of Simeon here, which are the Dominicans, and then you're looking for these same people among Judah, like you in Haiti looking for them, like you looking through all, and guess what? You will never find them. They look just like any other tribe that they're scattered amongst. That's why the way a person looks can affect whether they're a tribe of Israel or not. Look doesn't matter. Paul looked like an Egyptian. That didn't make him an Egyptian. Joseph, his own brothers mistook him for an Egyptian. His own flesh and his blood grew up with him. About a decade or maybe two passed, and they looking at him. They think he's an Egyptian, even though he's from Shem, just like they are. Which should show you how image can't determine what Joseph wasn't an Egyptian. It's not our job to determine whether or not a person is an Israelite or not. It's our job to give the edification on who the tribes of Israel are. and the prophecies concerning the tribes of Israel. But it's not our job to say, oh, you're an Israelite. You're not. You're an Israelite. You look white, so you can't be an Israelite. You look Chinese, so you can't. That's not our job. Most I never say, hey, yeah, just go around telling people whether they're an Israelite or not. That's the problem with a lot of our people is we take on burdens that aren't our own. I think we talked about this before. We take on burdens that don't belong to us. Start taking on jobs that were never ours in the first place. Feeling like we're responsible for something that we're not responsible for. And then you get high blood pressure and you're stressed out and you're this and you're that, not realizing that the only reason you're stressed is because you're worrying about something you're not supposed to be worried about. We've taken on a job and assigning who's an Israelite and who's not when it was never our job in the first place. Matthew chapter 25, verse 31.
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the angels come, all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory.
Now check this out. He says the holy angels with them, then he shall sit on the throne of his glory. Right? Read.
And before him shall be gathered all nations.
Who?
All nations.
Who?
All nations.
Oh, yeah. No, it's only going to be Israelites in the kingdom. Read that again.
And before him shall be gathered all nations.
Yeah, ain't no Edomite. Ain't nobody going to be in the kingdom. It's just going to be Israelites in the kingdom. See, this is the crazy part is that they'll say, yeah, only Israelites in the kingdom. They're only going to be Israelites in the kingdom. But then they turn around and say, that's why you're going to be serving us in the kingdom to Gentiles. You're going to be serving us. You're going to be kissing my boot in the kingdom. It's like, but bro, you just said 20 minutes ago, I was standing here, you said ain't going to be no Gentiles in the kingdom. So I'm going to be kissing your boot in the kingdom when I'm not supposed to be there. Now, granted, that's a lie anyways. They're going to be kissing boots in the kingdom. That's a lie. But there will be righteous servitude because we have to have our time as rulers. So there will be righteous servitude of the Gentiles in the kingdom. What is a kingdom without servants, without subjects? It's righteous servitude, though, according to the law. Right? So these brothers out here, I mean, ain't going to be no Gentiles in the kingdom. You're going to be serving. That's why you're going to be bringing me my glass of water and melon juice in the kingdom. I have to, like you sent me a picture of that this morning, Elder. I'm like, this dude is like, these people ain't playing about this. I'm like, but they're so wild and boisterous about this, not even realize that they've contradicted themselves. Yeah, you're going to be serving me in the kingdom, and that's why you ain't going to be there. It says all nations. And what is he going to do with all nations? Go ahead and read this, brother.
And he shall separate them one from another.
And he shall do what?
Separate them one from another.
Read.
As a shepherd divided his sheep from the goats.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall set the sheep on the right hand, but the goats on the left.
He shall separate the sheep on the right hand and the goats on the left. He is going to determine, all right, so, yeah, you're from the tribe of Judah. You're from this. You're from that. Yeah, you're from this. You're from that. Yeah, you're not an Israelite. You're over here. That's his job. He's going to be doing that. He gonna sit on his throne and he gonna say, all right, come on. Boom, 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 boom. Because he knows who his sheep are. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, this doesn't say that he's gonna divide the sheep from the goats and then say sheep go on somewhere. the sheep have a job to do in the kingdom. And one of those first jobs is cleaning up all the destruction that's gonna happen when Christ come back and mess some stuff up. That's going to take, the scriptures say 7 years to clean up all the destruction that he's going to create on this earth. It says, before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate one nation from another. It's not our job to do that. Now, the next myth. Those of us that have the understanding that the children of Israel left the northern kingdom and headed to the western world, right? Those of us who believe or know for a fact that the children of Israel left the Middle East and went abroad and came here to the Americas. We received this knowledge from Second Esdras, which Christopher Columbus also found, Christopher Columbus also used this to find the children of Israel in the Western world. I'm going to touch on that in a second. But I just remembered something from Hosea. There was somebody who was teaching that the Gentiles weren't that the other nations weren't Israelites. That Hosea wasn't saying that they were physically mixing with these other nations. They're saying when it says Ephraim is a cake not turned, it's saying that they're neither hot nor cold. Now, how many of y'all have ever put a cake in the oven and one side cooks, but the other side isn't all the way? Have you ever put a cake in the oven and let the bottom burn, took it out, and it was cold? I'm a baker. And it don't work like that. You're not going to put a cake in the oven, let one side burn, take it out, stick your finger in there. Ooh, it's freezing. They came up with that understanding to try to debunk that Hosea isn't saying that they physically mixed, even though the scripture clearly says Ephraim is a cake not turned because he has mixed himself among the nations. It literally explains why they're a cake not turned. They said, well, he's a cake not turned because he's neither hot nor cold. You just took out a whole part of the scripture and put a new one in there. Right? It goes back to that double standard. It's like, well, you'll accept a child who's born of a mixed relationship, who's light skinned, but you have a person who's Taino, or a person who's Puerto Rican or Trinidadian, and they're mixed because of all of the years of captivity, the curses that you said that they didn't fulfill. But they're not Israelites, though. But Second Esdras, I have this book here, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders. Good book, really good book. And it gives a lot of history concerning the lost tribes in particular, but not just the lost tribes, but who they were found by. The person I want to key in on here is Christopher Columbus in particular. This is obviously Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, The Origins of American Racism by Ronald Sanders. This is page 77, paragraph 2. It says, all his life, Columbus's ideas about geography permeated with a peculiar religious mysticism. He kept a book of prophecies in which he collected quotations, mostly from the Bible, often dealing with isles far off. So it's saying here that Christopher Columbus got majority of his ideas about geography from religion, from the Bible. But check this out. He had a particular book that he enjoyed to read. Dropping down to the third paragraph of this page. It says, a striking element in Columbus's geographical religiosity is an intense and abiding interest in the fourth or second book of Esdras. Says it right here. So he was using the very book that we use to find where the 12 tribes are, to find the Americas. But we're gonna get into a little bit more detail as to why he went there. We're gonna show you why. Because keep in mind, we don't judge motives. We look for fruit, right? In the marginal notes of Columbus's copy is relatively lengthy discourse about Second Esdras chapter 6, verse 42. Now, if you go forward, now on page 79, check this out. If Columbus did indeed glimpse himself as a role as the man from the sea, then Esdras' edification identification of the peaceable multitude takes on special significance. Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 40 through 42. Check this out. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of the land in the time of Hoshea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Israel, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, so they came into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth unto the further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might keep their statutes which they had never kept in their own land. Now, this very scripture that he had in his book of prophecies that he used to find the Americas, we're going to use. We'll show you. Now, a lot of people say, well, that doesn't mean that he was using that doesn't mean that he was using the book of Esdras to find the children of Israel. Watch this. This is chapter 8, page 92. This is going to shock you. We do not know much about Columbus's crew of about 90 men aboard 3 ships, but at least one of them was an Israelite whose presence was such not merely accidental. This was Luis de Torres, a convert. Only that year he once held a position with the governor of Murcia. He is said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Arabic, and had been brought by Columbus specifically as an interpreter. So, if Columbus is going to find India, which he had already been to, why is he bringing an interpreter that speaks Hebrew? Not to mention, where was he going? It says the high sea was necessary for me, Columbus wrote in his journey, in his journal for September 23rd, 1492. 17 days out at sea after a long step over in the Canaries. Now check out where he decided to stop on page 93. It says the land was sighted on October 11th, and the next morning, which was Friday, Spaniards reached the island which they subsequently called San Salvador in the Bahamas. So he reached the new land. He reached Arsareth, which he was looking for in 2nd Esdras chapter 13. But you know what? He said, you know what? If we're going to go to this place and we're going to find these people, we got to bring an interpreter. We need somebody who speaks Hebrew. Why? Because he knew the people that he would encounter were Israelites. Why else? Why would you bring a translator to when you won't need them? He brought a translator to the new world that spoke specific. He didn't keep in mind. He didn't bring. Well, let's bring a Chinese interpreter. Let's bring a Chinese interpreter or an Arab. He brought an Israelite interpreter who spoke Hebrew. And what we're going to find in these later weeks as we go forward examining each tribe is that each island and each land he encountered, Christopher Columbus encountered, he encountered Hebrew-speaking people on every single one.
Wow.
So for all those people that say, well, it wasn't saying, Ezra chapter 2 wasn't saying that it wasn't talking about America. Christopher Columbus thought so. And you know what? He used that very same book to find Arsareth. And when he after he found Arsareth, he made sure that he had a Hebrew interpreter on hand so that they could communicate with these people. And you know what? Magellan didn't fail to do so either when he went to certain lands. What you're going to find over the next couple of weeks is that every land that was discovered by Europeans, they had a Hebrew interpreter on hand. Every single one.
Wow.
Let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 40 and break this down for the people who still don't believe.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters.
Where?
Over the waters.
He carried them where?
Over the waters.
Which requires what?
A boat.
It requires boats. It requires ships. So those slave ships that you guys are talking about, you're seeing here in 721 BC. When you break the laws, Deuteronomy 28 comes into effect. This is a perpetual prophecy. It's perpetual. It keeps happening until you get it right. High blood pressure is going to keep happening as long as you're eating pork. Right? As long as you're breaking the laws, the curses will continue to come upon you and overtake you. So when they were breaking the laws in the northern kingdom, guess what came? Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And Deuteronomy 28 and 68 continued to come until they got it right. He carried them where?
Over the waters.
Read.
Carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land.
We've heard that too, right? In Deuteronomy 28. That they would come into another land. This is the first instance of major enslavement after the Exodus. And even the Exodus isn't counted as a slavery. It was counted in the scriptures as hard bondage. Right? Why? Because it was employment. They were employing the children of Israel, but once they got them all to come and become employed by the Egyptians, they started taking away payment. They stopped paying them. Right? So this is the first instance of major enslavement that we see since the Exodus. And this is the first time we're seeing slave ships as prophesied in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Right? The Most High, anybody who breaks the laws, we're made vulnerable to the curses of Deuteronomy 28. If our nation was still breaking the law as a whole, guess what? Slave ships. As a matter of fact, there's a slave trade happening in North Africa right now of our people from West Africa. We were talking to the brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone, and they were talking about how people were still being snatched up from West Africa, areas like Ghana, and being shipped away by Arabs.
Wow.
Still being captured, just like in 1619.
Come on.
But nobody talking about it. Oh, yeah. Immense Juneteenth. When slavery was abolished. Meanwhile, our people are still being enslaved in North Africa like this is over.
Come on.
Like, oh, slavery's done. Oh, Jesus is what it is. It's done. Thank God for Abraham Lincoln. Man. And little did you know, Abraham Lincoln thought less of you. He thought the same way about you as all the other presidents. Abraham Lincoln made it clear. He's like, listen, just because I think that they should have the same rights as everybody else, but I'm not saying that they should live in the same communities as us. I'm not saying they should be able to vote. I'm not saying they should be able to do this or do that. Abraham Lincoln didn't believe in equality. Look it up. Look up Abraham Lincoln's quotes about equality.
Come on.
He didn't believe in equality. The reason why he eliminated slavery was to keep the South from seceding. See, he knew that if the South lost the war, they would secede from the Union, separating themselves from the North. Why is that a problem? Because the South had all the farmland. The North was industrious. So they wouldn't have all the resources that they were getting from the South. So he needed to keep them from seceding. So what he did is he said, I need to take away the main thing that's upholding their economy. And the number one value in their economy was slaves. If he takes away slaves, he takes away their economic stability. Therefore, they fall back into the north. It keeps them from seceding. It was a strategic move, not a moral move.
Come on, tell the truth.
Why do you think he waited so long to sign the Emancipation Proclamation in the first place when he had it drafted 4 years before? He had been writing that up since he was a lawyer. And then right after he signs the Emancipation Proclamation, he signs for the largest genocide in American history of the Native Americans the next day. Oh, but praise God for Abraham Lincoln. Juneteenth. So the 10 tribes were led away captive by Solomon Nasser via slave ships to their land as a result of the sin that has spread through the land in the time of Jeroboam the king. Let's get verse 41 of 2nd Esdras.
But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into further country where never mankind dwelt.
Where never mankind dwelt. So they're going to a land that's completely barren of people. Right? Why did they want to do this? Read.
That they might keep their statutes.
Statutes.
Which they never kept in their own land.
So they're saying, you know what? We're going to go somewhere else and we're going to rectify this problem. Why didn't they want to go back to the northern kingdom? Because the northern kingdom had been taken by the heathen. They said, nah, we don't want to dwell amongst the heathen anymore. Let's go somewhere else and keep the laws that we didn't keep while we were here. Why do you think you find, for example, if you go to ancient Japan, you have an exact replica of the temples that existed in Jerusalem? Exact replicas. They have it perfect from the outer gates to the Holy of Holies. It's mapped out perfectly in Japan. It's built exactly like a synagogue. They went to these places with the intent to keep the laws that they didn't originally keep in their own land.
Come on.
But you know, Christopher Columbus was reading this too. See, we don't realize that the nations, that the heathen, they got the drop on us.
That's right.
They be doing they research on this more than we do. Why do you think every time we find out that somebody's a tribe of Israel, we look it up on YouTube and the Jews are already there?
Yeah.
It seems like we find out that somebody is an Israelite, we go to look it up, and you already see some Jews over there like, hey, you want to come to Israel? We're 30 years late. Because we're looking at it like, nah, they can't be Israelites. They can't look at the way that they look. These people have been knowing, some of these people have been knowing that they're Israelites keeping the laws. And then the Jews go over there and say, look, they're keeping the laws. Let's give them Judaism. Throws them completely off. The people were more right before the Jews got there. And then they come in and give them Judaism, put a yarmulke on the top of their head. Now they're Jews because we neglected our mission because of what they look like. All the history points to them being the children of Israel, but we're like, oh no, they just can't. They just don't look like us. Look at their hair. Their lips ain't as big as ours. Look. Now they've been further deceived because we didn't come to them with the truth in the first place. I sent a video to the elder last night of the Kaifeng Jews, the Jews of Kaifeng in southern China. The Jews literally researched all of their history on these people and then proceeded to go there, give them Judaism, and then start bringing them to Israel. They're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Come on.
Not necessarily bringing them to Israel, but going there and giving them the truth.
Come on.
They got the drop on us. Just like Christopher Columbus had to drop. Christopher Columbus is reading this like he said, okay. It said that they went where? Okay, they left from here. Okay, and then you know what? Let me get financed by the king and the queen to go over here and just destroy these people. The elders of the 10 tribes came together in a council, and they said, you know what? Instead of going back to where the heathen are, right? They've taken our land for a spoil. Why don't we just go start fresh? Get a new land where we can keep the laws of the Most High. Bear in mind, they plan to keep the laws and go to a land that's not inhabited by man. It's a further country, right? The lands that they decided to go for, right? The lands that they decided to leave for were free of the heathen and their influences. They wanted to get away from the heathen.
Come on.
Right? Now, ultimately, they wound up carrying that with them. Right? When you're mixed with that nation, when you've been indoctrinated and ethnically cleansed, you're going to carry away some of what they gave you.
Yeah.
Let's get verse 43.
And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river.
Mm-hmm.
For the Most High shewed signs for them,
Mm-hmm.
and held still the flood till they were passed over.
Now check this out. When you actually look at geography, the Euphrates River passes through the Middle East, right? And it goes directly out into the ocean. And from that point, the waters carry you east, which is towards Australia, India, Japan, right? The South Pacific. And from that point, it takes you the rest of the way. It takes you the rest of the way around. And when you look at it, when you actually follow that path, you actually see a trail of Israel in certain places. We're going to go over it. It's literally like a road map. You see them along that path from the Euphrates all the way down. You see stops of where where certain Israelites are on certain islands that weren't inhabited at the time. So what they were doing was like, okay, we got ships here. They come into a land and they bump into a land. He's like, all right, we're going to stay here. We off here, y'all. And they kept going. The rest of them kept going. Right? Actually, it's a lot like the movie Moana. where they would have their boats stocked up with food, and they had their whole families on there, and they were sailing. They found the island, people got off, and other people kept going. That's literally what it was. And you want to know what's crazy? Is that Naphtali actually had a vision about it. The Most High gave Naphtali a vision about it, and he's the father of the Polynesian nations, which the movie Moana is based off of. Coincidence? It just so happened that they showed his children doing the very thing that the Most High gave him a vision would happen. Right? So they prepared ships into the Euphrates and passed through what we call Asia Minor out into the Indian Oceans. Right? This is important for the understanding of where they left and where each tribe left off. And when we get particularly into Naphtali, he's going to confirm this route that they took. And in the Hawaiians' records and their antiquities, they actually map out. They actually map out that exit from the Middle East. They confirm it. Right? So it shows where each tribe left off. So we know, according to the Bible, where we're scattered throughout the earth. This is how Christopher Columbus managed to find our people. He said, you know what? This is how they did it. This is where they went. So must be where they left off. And you know what? He never failed to hit the spot. His calculations just so happened to always be correct.
Come on.
Oh yeah, let me get all of my information from Esdras and then let me hit the exact place that I was aiming for every single time.
Come on.
But we can't do that. The tribes would then use the stars, which, keep in mind what it says. It says the Most High showed signs for them. They use the stars to map their directions to the new lands as they set off to find them. They would get off as they found them, right? Now, when you look at the history between the trade between the Native Americans and the South Pacific Islanders and the South, now imagine that you're going from the Americas, the North America, all the way to the South Pacific Island. Imagine how long that a journey that is. And they were trading with each other intentionally. So they were sending trade back and forth to each other. Now, think about it. And also keep in mind, they also the Native Americans, the Mexicans, and the South Pacific Islanders all knew how to read the stars. They all mapped their directions using the stars. Once again, Moana, what were they doing to find a path? They would look up at the stars. They would look up at the stars and measure it with their hand.
Wow.
And they would use certain signs to see, oh, look, that star points. Since the stars are pointing right in that direction, that must be where such and such is. So we're just going to sail in that direction. The same things that they used to find each other and to find the lands that they were on, Christopher Columbus used to find them.
Wow.
Let's get 2 Ezra chapter 13, verse 45.
For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of the year and a half.
This is where the discrepancy comes in. This is where a tribe chart denier would come in. Stop right there. It takes longer than 120 years to get from the Middle East to America. They have to find the wood, the materials. They have to build the ships. Then they have to sail from the Middle East all the way over to America on primitive ships. It would have took longer than 120. It would have took longer than a year and a half. You misread the scripture. It says, for through that country, there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half. And that same region was called Arsareth. It said it took a year and a half for them to travel through Arsareth, not to Arsareth. Through Arsareth, not to Arsareth. Read.
Then dwelt they there until a later time. And
The latter time. Mm-hmm.
The latter time. And now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitude with peace.
Therefore sawest all the multitude with peace. So he's saying the same way that they left is the same way I'm going to bring them back. So these same places where they left and stayed is the same places where they will be at today. And I will bring them back the same way that they left.
Wow.
It's crazy. You try to mix the words to try to make it seem like it's saying something that is not. It took them a year and a half to travel. Keep in mind, you got to include Canada because you have Native Americans in Canada through North America. Then you have Central America. And then you have South America and all the islands far and in between. It took a year and a half for them to discover all of that, for them to travel through Arsareth. Arsareth means hidden land. It means hidden land. That's the confusion. There's people say, oh, it takes way longer than a year and a half to travel from the Middle East or Asia Minor, whether it's on ships or by foot. Through, not to. When people try to bring that to you, when you're breaking this down, through, not to. Just remember that. Through, not to. Through the land of Arsareth. Right? Let's get verse 48. Now this is something that I missed myself. Verse 48. And this is why I couldn't identify all the tribes that were scattered, because I forgot to read this. Usually when those of us who teach the 12 tribes chart, we break down Ezra chapter 13, we stop at verse 47. Check out verse 48. Read.
But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders.
Check that out. It says those that be left behind of thy people. That means that there were some of the 10 tribes that didn't leave. They stayed. Read.
Now, when he destroys the multitude of nations that are gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain.
Mm-hmm.
And then shall he shew them great wonders.
Not only is he going to protect the people that remain within the borders, he's going to protect them from the destruction that's happening around them. For example, the Pashtun in Afghanistan. I knew a while back. I had been talking to I talked to the elder about this. I believe it was my sophomore or my junior year in high school. It was years ago. And I said, you know, I think the Pashtun are Israelites. And we just laughed about it. We just laughed it off. Like I was sort of going through it. I'm like, it all connects, but we laughed about it because it's like, man, look at that. Look where they are. But then when I went and I read this, I brought it back to the elder, and I was like, shoot. They actually are Israelites. Not only did they suffer all the curses, but there were also those of our people who were left. They didn't all leave. Some of them decided to stay, which explains why all the signs, all the history, all the genealogy points to the Pashtun in Afghanistan being Israelites, but I couldn't understand the scriptures that surround it as far as why they were there. It says, those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders. Right? Are they that are found within my borders. When you look at where Assyria is, I'm sorry, but you're not going to find any black looking people out there. People who look like Negroes out there. You're not going to find it. So tell me, who are those people in Assyria that are our people, that are Israelites from the lost tribes? You can't look and point out any particular person. Why? Because of the captivity, the assimilation, the ethnic cleansing, the cultural cleansing, and even at some points, the Hellenization by Greece. So they're almost identical to the rest of the people that are there. It's by the grace of the Most High that there were a couple of people left among the Pashtun that believed that they were from the tribe of Benjamin. Right? So not only were there those of the 10 tribes who decided to leave for Arsareth, there were also those who decided to stay behind and remain and spread through Asia Minor. So not only would they stay in the Middle East, but they would spread throughout Asia Minor into some parts of Europe, which is why the ministry of not only Christ, but of Paul was throughout Asia Minor and throughout Asia itself, because they knew our people had walked by foot through some of these lands. Travel, because people don't realize that the Middle East is connected to the rest of Asia. All of it's one landmass. You can walk from the Middle East to China. So if you take that travel between each of these, that's why Paul sent ministries to those areas. That's why St. Thomas was in India. So when you look at it, they traveled through Asia Minor, the Middle East, and even into Africa. So for those people who say, well, the 12 tribes, they ain't scattered throughout the earth. Look, I can show you them in Africa. Yep, you can, because they are in Africa too. It said that the 10 tribes will be scattered in all directions. So yes, some of the 10 tribes are scattered in Africa. That doesn't mean that's the only place where they are. It's not necessarily being wrong. It's about being too small-minded as it pertains to a people that are very large and have been through a lot of different things, a lot of different captivities. The Filipinos, for instance, Bishop Michael knows this. They were in captivity under the Spanish. They were in captivity under the French. They were in captivity under the Asians. What do you think they're going to look like? That's three totally different nations. three totally different nations of heathen that they were conquered by and ethnically cleansed and assimilated into. What do you think they're going to look like? And it just so happens that the Trans-Pacific slave trade went directly through the Philippines. They were sending Mexicans to the Philippines and Filipinos to Mexico on ships. This goes to show how dispersed and unrecognizable our people are to date. Even some of our own people. Let's get the Testament of Naphtali, chapter 2, verse 8.
And I saw, for I was there, and behold, a holy writing appeared to us, saying, Assyrians, Medes, Persians, Chaldeans, Syrians shall put poses in captivity to 12 tribes of Israel.
Now, Naphtali is seeing a vision, a future prophecy. And what he's seeing is that my descendants, as well as my brother's descendants, will be in these captivities. He's seeing the exact same captivities that Daniel saw. Right? Remember the four beasts of Daniel. The Babylonian captivity, the Persian Mede captivity, the Greek captivity, and the Roman captivity. When you look at this, the Assyrians happened in 721 BC. The Persian Medes, the Romans, the Chaldeans are the Romans in Greece and the Syrians. Right? So he's seeing all of these captivities of not just one tribe, but of all the tribes. Read.
And again, after 7 days, I saw our father Jacob standing by the sea of Jemaiah.
Jemaiah is in the Middle East. It's in the Middle East. It's right off the banks of Israel. Right? So he said he saw Jacob standing by the sea of Jemaiah. Read.
And we were with him.
He and all his brothers were standing there with him. Read.
And behold, there came a ship sailing by with sailors our pilot, and there was written upon the ship of Jacob. So a ship passed by. He sees a ship come up, and it says the ship of Jacob. Read. And our father said unto us, Come, let us embark on our ship.
Mm-hmm.
And when he had gone on board, there rose a vehement storm and mighty tempest of wind. Mm-hmm. And our father who was holding the helm departed from us. Mm-hmm. So a storm started shaking and breaking up the ship, and his father was gone. His father Jacob disappeared. Read. And we, being tossed with tempest, were borne along over the sea. Mm-hmm. And the ship was filled with water and was pounded by mighty waves until it was broken up. Mm-hmm. And Joseph fled away upon a little boat, and we were all divided upon 9 planks. And Levi and Judah were together. Mm-hmm. And we were all scattered until the ends of the earth.
Check that out. He had a prophetic. He said, okay, so when the whole thing was broken up, and we were all divided onto different planks, except for Joseph, which is the tribe of Manasseh and the tribe of Ephraim, and Judah and Levi, and that includes Benjamin as well. Those 3 tribes which were together. So it just so happens that all the Negroid tribes were on one plank, and all the other tribes, excluding Ephraim and Manasseh, were all on different planks, going different places. Right? This is the vision Naphtali had. He said, dang, look at, and it's just a coincidence, though. The Most High revealed the diaspora to Naphtali during his lifetime, and it turned out to be the exact scenario that would occur in 721 BC and beyond. Keep in mind, the children of Judah, the house of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi was left in the land, right? The rest of the tribes were dispersed, right? It's the exact scenario of 721 BC. They all landed in different places. They were all scattered in different places. We were scattered much later, but much the same way. Some would ask, if these people are the children of Israel, why are they not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments that they promised to keep prior to leaving for Arsareth? I believe Ishak had this question a couple of Sabbaths ago. Well, he said, well, they have tattoos and stuff like that. That's against the law. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for that. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4.
And thou, even shalt
thyself
shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
You shall discontinue from your heritage, which I have gave thee. Read.
And I will cause these to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not.
Mm-hmm.
For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever.
So it started with this. The captivities coupled with time caused for them to forget their heritage. This is why we see genetic markers as well as certain customs that they keep that point towards them being Israelites, but they either don't know that they're Israelites or they're keeping the same customs as Israelites. For example, there's only one nation that keeps the law of purity. That's the children of Israel. That's when a woman is in her menstrual period, her monthly period, and they put her away until it's over, and then they bring her back. Not only were they practicing that, but the scriptures also had a law of a safe haven, right? Where if people went into a certain city, they couldn't be killed or attacked, right? The Polynesians had one of those as well. The Aborigines of America had those as well. These are customs that are specific to the children of Israel that they were keeping almost exactly to the letter. Explain to me how a people who have never been in the Holy of Holies can perfectly sculpt a temple of the Holy of Holies. Perfectly. The measurements were perfect. I mean, I think they said outside of a hand washing bowl being on the left side instead of the right side, that was the only difference. And the materials that it was made out of. How many of y'all know that in Japan they have the doorway that they put up, the red arcs? They're always red, and that's in front of their temples. That marks Exodus. The blood on the doors. When you look back into their history, that's what they explain. They said it's the blood on the door. That's why they're always in front of their temples. And they have one in front of the Holy of Holies before entering into Holy of Holies. Right? See, even and the same goes for us. How can we say, well, they aren't keeping the laws? Look at West Africa, where we came from. Show me some laws there. I mean, we got some good brothers and sisters out there, but majority of them don't keep the laws of the Most High because they don't know. Either they're stuck in Christianity, either they're stuck in Islam, Roman Catholicism, or they're practicing mysticism, black magic. Either way, not only do they not know who they are, but they aren't keeping the laws of the Most High. Some of the brothers and sisters in West Africa don't even practice circumcision. So when you take that into account, you have to understand there can't be a standard that we hold one people to that we do not hold for another. Because we all endured the same thing. We lost our culture, our heritage. Oh, look at them over there eating all that pork. I'm like, have you been to a black barbecue before? Literally, it's a saying, don't ever take a rib from a black man. It's a saying. You got something?
I just want to know what scripture from Jeremiah you read.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. Right? The 12 tribes chart, people who hate the 12 tribes chart will not only hate this lesson, but they'll hate every lesson that comes after this. They're going to hate every single one. Because and not only will they hate every single one after this, they're going to hate the kingdom too if they make it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that they're going to make it. But if they make it, they're going to hate the kingdom too. How can you be in a kingdom with a people that you despise? In order to accept Christ, you have to accept his people.
Yeah.
Right? We will not only break down each tribe, but we will also be expanding the chart beyond the Western world. See, the chart, people say, well, the chart is only talking about people in the West. Yeah, that's because that's what Genesis 49 gives us the West. It gives us specific locations. But we should think of the chart as more of a tree with a lot of branches, as opposed to one chart. You have, for each tribe, there's a branch, and there's many other branches that comes off of it. They'll not only hate this lesson, but they'll hate every lesson that comes after it, and they'll sure will hate the kingdom. And they're gonna be real mad when they see Christ point at some brothers and sisters that look Asian and say, "Hey, come on my right side." They ain't Israel. Look at him, and probably be just as surprised when he said, "Come over to my left," because it turned out you were a Gentile. Because you don't know. You could be just as Gentile as that person that you telling to kiss your boot. Right? We must come to think of the chart as more of a tree with many different branches because our people are so numerous. Hosea chapter 1, verse 10. Let's get it.
Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people.
Ye are not my people, read.
There it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
That doesn't just pertain to black people. They aren't the only ones being told they're not the chosen people. Not only are our brothers and sisters that are scattered being told by the Gentiles that they're not Israel, they're being told by us that they're not Israel. They're being told by Israel that they're not Israel. And that's not new. We've been doing that since Christ's time and before. Referring to our people who are people from the northern kingdom as Gentiles. Because we thought that they were Gentiles, even though they weren't. Right? Brother Bishop Michael, he believed for a long time that he was a Gentile. We had to dig Bishop Michael. We know Bishop Michael in the chat. Con, yeah, Bishop Michael. We have a new breather. We have a new reader. This is Brother Ashbel here. But Bishop Michael, for a long time, when he was first reached out to us, he believed that he was a Gentile. He's from the Philippines. I told Dad at that time, I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure Filipinos are Israelites. And we dug into it and we did the research, come to find out that he was. And the church that he had been trying to get into was rejecting him, saying that he wasn't an Israelite. You're a Japheth, is what they was telling him. You're a Japheth. It's like, nah, that can't be the case. We broke it down and come to find out he's just as Israelite as the rest of them. Hosea shows us that our people are so numerous they can't be counted. The children of Israel is not anytime you hear somebody say there's a small amount of Israel, back up off of it. It's already wrong. I mean, it's a lot of brothers and sisters over there in Holland. Right? The children, anytime you hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, there's a small number here," small. Nah, that's not how we roll. That's not how we were created. We were created to be fertile and numerous. That's what we are. The children of Israel are not a concentrated amount of people because the Most High had blessed our people with fruitful wombs. Why do you think the average family in the South Pacific is 13? Guess how large the average white family is? 4. We're growing almost 3 times as fast as they are. See, the only reasons why, when you look at families prior to the 1980s, you look at your grandparents, ask them how many siblings they have. See, they made it a shame for Black people to have children. Oh, see, back in the day when you found out you was having a child, it was a happy thing. It was a celebration. Now it's like you having a baby. Oh, Lord. And then if you had, Lord help you if you have more than 2. You have how many children? Ooh, you got a lot. 5 is a lot now? 5 back in the day wasn't enough. I mean, it's not only psychological. Not only are they trying to destroy our people through eugenics, abortion, and birth control, making our women sterile. They're also trying to make our women believe that it's not good to have kids. Being fruitful isn't a good thing. Oh, you got too many kids. You got too many kids. It's like, dang, any way that we can keep these people from outnumbering us, we need to use it. No, just tell them it's a bad thing. Don't have kids until you've finished all of school, which is like 12 or 13 years. By that time, you're working, you don't have time for a kid. And then by the time that you're ready to have a kid, you're past your prime. And in between that time, guess what? You still have an intercourse. So you get pregnant and you know what? I can just go get an abortion. Next thing you know, you're sterile.
Come on.
We've seen a lot of it. Where women have gotten abortions over time, and by the time that they're ready to settle down, their body is so destroyed from it they can't give the person that they love a child, and sometimes it even destroys marriages. They want to destroy our people in as many ways as possible. We must keep this in mind in the upcoming weeks, where we will dive deep into the children of Israel, the curses, and our dispersion. Today, we broke down the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes chart, and the myths concerning the 12 tribes chart. Next week, we'll be getting into the tribe of Reuben. So, we hope you guys are blessed by this lesson. If we have any questions, we'll be taking any questions in the room. If you have a question, put it in one of the chats, and we'll be sure to answer that. Solomon sinned. What about it?
What is what? Because I remember y'all talking about Ezekiel. Mm-hmm. I wrote it right under because I was confused when you were like, Solomon sinned.
Yeah. Solomon's sin was, well, first of all, according to the law, the scripture, the law says that a king is not allowed to multiply wives to himself. That's the law. So when David, and a lot of people who try to say, oh yeah, it's okay for us to have multiple wives. Look at David, look at Solomon. First of all, those are 2 bad examples anyways, because David killed a man for his wife, and Solomon got led astray to other gods by all of his wives. So those are 2 bad examples to look at. But the scriptures already say that a king may not multiply wives into himself. Solomon had many wives. and many more, many more concubines. And beside from that, that wasn't the only issue. Is these were women from other nations who served other gods. So as Solomon got older and he got weaker, he began to go after these other women's gods, serving these other women's gods, neglecting the Most High. Thus, he compromised the kingdom. The only reason why the kingdom wasn't completely stripped away from Solomon is because of the Most High's promise to David that the king of Israel, that Christ would come through that bloodline, that he would come through that bloodline and take the kingdom. If he stripped all of the tribes from Solomon, he would be breaking his promise to David. So the Most High left him three. He left him three tribes, which was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That was Solomon's sin. Yeah, I know it's scandalous, right? Put that in the show. Do we have any other questions? All right. So if we have no more questions, awesome job today. Yeah. First time, great first time. Give him a round of applause. This is first time in here reading. All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. Hopefully many more to come in the future. But this ministry is growing, our leadership is growing, and the men of the Most High have to start stepping up and doing what they were called to do in this truth to do. What tribe are you from?
Levi.
Levi. We got a priest over here. Right? All praise to the Most High. Right? So we know the mission, the House of Judah International Fellowship Church. We knew our mission from the beginning. I remember when we first started it, and I talked to the elder and I said, man, there's already so much work being done here, and we're teaching that the 12 tribes are all of these people, but nobody's going and reaching all of these people. And lo and behold, we get a call from Bishop Michael in Sierra Leone. And then next thing you know, we have a body growing in the Philippines now and everything. And this is the work that the Most High called us to do, reaching our people in the four corners of the earth that aren't currently being reached. And we need as many brothers and leaders to step up and do this work as we can. The harvest is great, but the laborers are few, right? So as the laborers that we have, we got to get to work, right? So I want to give all thanks and praise to the Most High for continuing to inspire these lessons and continuing to give us the knowledge to come forth and teach you all. And same thing for the elders and the bishops and the deacon in Sierra Leone, all the work that they're doing. They're doing a lot of good work out there. Give a round of applause for them. Shalom, brothers. There's still a lot of work left to be done, but it's a blessing to have brothers that are down, getting their hands there, doing the work themselves. So all praise to the Most High, Hayabah Shem Yeshaya, Wavrawak. And if it be the Most High's will, we'll be back before you all again for the lesson that will be entitled The Children of Israel, the Tribe of Reuben, where we'll be going in depth where the tribe of Reuben is primarily and where else they're spread out throughout the four corners of the earth. All praise to the Most High. So without any further ado, we hope you all have a blessed. Bishop Michael in the chat says soon Philippines will be established by his will and power. All praises to the Most High. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming soon. I'm excited. I'm excited for what we're building there. There's a lot of our people there that are confused. Like I said, they've been through a lot of different captivities, received a lot of different ideologies and religions, and it's time for them to be woken up and finally brought out of all of that confusion that's been forced upon them over these last couple of centuries. So without any further ado, we hope you all have a blessed Sabbath. We got 3 great hours left of Sabbath. We're going to eat, praise the Most High, and without any further ado, thank you for all tuning in. Stay safe and prayed up. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.